Welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to a brand new episode on the podcast. We're going to be talking about the Arsenal transfer window. Ivan Toney is set to stay at Brentford. 99% manager Thomas Frank, he will be staying at Brentford and he won't be going anywhere. So Arsenal are not signing Ivan Toney. We are also not signing Borja Mayoro. He has rejected any offers. He said he would love to stay at Getafe, would love to stay in Spain, at least for the end of the campaign, until the end of the campaign. So Arsenal have had two strikers rejected. We'll be talking about Karim Benzema because that could be a very open option. That could be a very possible option for Arsenal in this January transfer window as well. It's a very slow one, but I still think Arsenal are working on something. I still think Arsenal, we are working on something. And of course, we'll talk about Arsenal and the FFP issues. We are actually a little bit okay now because Nottingham Forest have been charged. Everton have been charged again, but Arsenal have not been charged. That means that for now we are safe. It doesn't mean that we are going to buy players, but it means that we have not breached the FFP rules yet, and that actually puts us in a very, very good situation. Hit the like button for me. Subscribe to the podcast. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening in as well. And of course, you could let me know if you want this podcast in audio form on Spotify. If you do love that, then we will be definitely doing it, right? So a lot of things to dive into. We've not been live for a couple of days now, and you've not really missed much. There is not a lot going on in terms of the Arsenal transfer window, but also in terms of Arsenal as a club as well. Okay, let's get into it. Let's start off with the Ivan story, which is actually a big one. Thomas Frank, in his match press conference when before taking on Wolverhampton Wanderers yesterday, was asked about Ivan Toney again and whether there is any improvements and whether there are any advances from any other clubs. And this is what he has said. He has said, we do not have any offers, and this is actually very, very true. They don't have any offers from any clubs for Ivan Toney. That means that Arsenal have not tabled anything, Chelsea have not tabled anything, nor have Manchester United, not any other club. So they've not received any other offers. But what actually made it very clear that Brentford have made their final decision and he's going to be staying. He said he is 99% staying at Brentford. And this time, he didn't include unless there is a big offer. This time, he didn't include it's going to take something big, something huge, something very exciting to actually let him go. He just said 99% he is going to be staying. Now, you can look at this in two ways. Number one, you can look at it on the positive side of things, which is there is a 1% chance that Arsenal can sign Ivan Toney. I mean, there is a 1% chance that Arsenal sign Ivan Toney, but 1% is close to none. It is very close to zero. And I think Brentford, we were here on the same podcast, and we said Brentford are clever. They know this is their chance to get a lot of money from Ivan Toney, but they're not going to get a lot of money from him. They're not going to get a lot of money from selling him in January, right? So January, they want 100 million. They're probably not going to get that, but they can maximize their season. They can better their season by keeping him at the side for a longer period of time. So what they've decided to do here, and I'm really, really backing them, they're going to sell in the summer. They know the player is going to be, another, team's player come this summer. He will sign for another club. So what they're gonna do, use him for this campaign. Make sure you don't get relegated. Make sure they stay out of relegation, and after that, they will be open to selling him. Now, I am hearing that it could cost around 70 to 80 million to sign Ivan Toney in the summer. So the 100 million pounds is to scare away potential suitors, is to scare away clubs that are trying to sign him in January because Brentford don't want to sell. Otherwise, in the summer, it could be a lot less than that. It could be around 70, 75, or even 80 million for Ivan Toney to be moving on. And look, it works in our way. It works in our favor as Arsenal. If he's the striker we want and he has been out for 18 months, it ends today. His ban ends today, and he's going to be returning to football very, very soon. If we can watch him for another 4 months before making a bid, if we can watch him for another, listen, 10, 15 games before making a bid. It's going to help us make a much better, informed decision. Last season, he was on form, but he was on form. So was Odegaard, so was Saka, and so was Gabriel Martinelli. Was it a one-off as well, just like what our players have been? Or is it something that is going to continuously do as he has done as he has done right from the championship? So it's going to be a very important thing for Arsenal, just to wait and sign him in the summer. And I think, listen, we have had situations where we've not signed Yuri Tillemans. You remember the Yuri Tillemans saga? Arsenal willing to pay the money around 20 million. Leicester City saying you've got to give us around 30. And in the end, this is how it ended up. Leicester City relegated. Yuri Tillemans moving to Aston Villa on a free, and he's not even a starter. A starter at Aston Villa. Now, don't get me wrong. I still think Arsenal made a huge mistake by not signing Yuri Tillemans. He was the most perfect replacement for Granit Xhaka in the whole world, in the whole of Europe, in the whole of Premier League. That was the guy. He was gonna cost you close to nothing. He's a creative player, and his box-to-box ability is unmatched and unprecedented, and undoubtedly very good. But that didn't happen. So Ivan Toney won't be joining Arsenal in this summer. That has been decided. 99% is the chance that he will be staying at the beautiful club Brentford. What are we thinking about this, guys? I know it's a little bit disappointing, especially to us who wanted a super striker, a big striker in January. But then you've got to think about it. You've got to, factor into all these, all these things, FFP, Brentford's situation, and all that. And then you've got to understand, and then you've got to move on. But what is actually going to be harder to swallow is this. Arsenal are more likely now, if there is a 70% chance that Arsenal don't sign a striker in January as compared to what we were feeling in December and what we were feeling in the first 10 days of um of the window. There is a bigger chance, a 70% chance that a striker doesn't come in. Actually, when I say a 70% chance, I'm being very generous. There is something bigger than that. There is almost an 80% chance that Arsenal will not sign a striker in January. And I was watching AFTV last night, and Robbie was saying that if it means for Arsenal to sign no one in January, but then we go and sign Victor Osimhen or Ivan Toney in the summer, then that is what we should do, right? We shouldn't sign a striker that then we'll be looking to move on in the next couple of years, right? And I kind of agree with that. I also think that our season is nearly over. I don't think we're going to turn it around. I don't want to lie. I want to be honest. Like right from this podcast onwards, I want to be very honest, and I want to tell you what I think honestly. I don't think Arsenal are turning their season around. I don't think this team competes with Real Madrid, the Madrid we saw dismantling Barcelona. I don't think this team competes with Bayern, and therefore this team cannot compete with Man City and Liverpool. So spending around 17 or 20 million on a striker probably is a waste of time. I mean, it could be a waste of time. If the team comes back firing, then that's okay. That's well and good. But if we come back in the same way and we are struggling to score goals, we're struggling to create chances, I don't think one player is going to change all that, right? I don't think one player is going to come in and change whatever Arsenal have got into themselves in, as a mess. So it's better we collect all this money, wait until the summer, and make a big money signing. Victor Osimhen has been speaking to the media about his future transfer plans, and he said, "At the moment, I have something and I have a direction I want my career to go in. But in the future, I would love to come to the Premier League, and I would love to go to the Premier League. And if it happens, you all will actually know when it's time for me to play in the Premier League." And I think it's a ripe market for Arsenal in the summer, isn't it? It's a ripe market. We are going to be waiting for two strikers that are currently top of the strikers list in terms of in terms of value, in terms of scoring goals, in terms of being in their prime, and also in terms of being in the spotlight. Ivan Toney, everyone is waiting How is he going to deal with all this? How is he going to deal with the ability of scoring goals after 8 months? Of not playing football. Victor Osimhen, everyone is going to be looking at him. How is he going to cop from Napoli to Arsenal to Chelsea? How is he going to cop from the Italian Serie A to the Liga to the Premier League? Right? I think Arsenal just gave themselves a very good shot, a very, very good shot here. Let's wait and see who is going to be the right guy for the project. So Ivan Toney is not signing for Arsenal. Victor Osimhen is one for the summer, and therefore there's a bigger chance that Arsenal will not sign a striker. As also, Borja Mayoro has actually told his representatives he would love to stay in Spain. He wants to stay at Getafe. He wants to continue his season. He doesn't want it interrupted. So Arsenal do not have any chances of signing Borja Mayoro right there. So the striker situation looks like it doesn't change. Yeah, it looks like it doesn't change. Mikel Arteta said last summer that he wanted to get in a striker. Probably he wanted to facilitate our players better because he knew the numbers that they were scoring, the numbers they were hitting, were actually were crazy. They were mad, right? So he thought these players are not going to score the same number of goals as they have done last campaign. And it has actually happened. So maybe we should have signed a striker in the summer. That was the right option. That was the best option we could have gone for. Sign a striker in the summer. Don't spend 100 million on Kai Havertz and David Raya. Spend 100 million on maybe if Victor Osimhen was for sale, then maybe Randall Colomwani, I don't know, maybe Goncalo Ramos, I do not know. But again, it depends on the manager. What is the manager interested in? What kind of profile does the manager want? Does he want Randall Colomwani as a striker? Probably not. Did he want Marcus Thuram? Probably not. But what actually shows me that Arsenal did not try to sign a striker in the summer was the availability of Marcus Thuram on a free. If Arsenal were ever linked with Marcus Thuram, if Arsenal ever tried to sign Marcus Thuram, that would have been a very good deal. That would have been, for me, a season saver for us. It would have been a season saver because if you have Marcus Thuram coming in on a free, and then you also have Edin Ketia and Gabriel Jesus, that's a couple of goals. It's not really decent when you compare that to Man City and all these other European big sides, but it's not bad. Marcus Thuram could score for you 15. Gabriel Jesus 11 and Edin Ketia 7. That's not a bad return. 18 plus, 18 plus 15, you're talking about around 30 what? 33, 35 goals in a campaign. That wouldn't be really bad. So no striker signings for now. And I don't think Arsenal are really going to progressively work, very, very quickly to get in a good striker. If we get in one, it's going to be a loan deal for someone we would rather have not signed. I mean, we've done some terrible business in January, Kim Kalostrom, I think Dennis Suarez, all those kind of players that came in and did absolutely nothing. That is where Arsenal are looking at. We either get in a nobody in January and waste our time, or we bring in nobody. I mean, yeah. And for me, right now, I would say Arsenal bring in nobody. Like just go and sign a defender like Mikel Arteta wants, but in attack we bring in nobody, and then we wait until the summer, and see what happens. If Arsenal have the money, but because we might get to the summer and we don't have the money, we might get to the summer and it's not what we were expecting. But let's wait until the summer and get in some good signings. Ivan Toney, Osimhen, and Borja Mayoro are not signing for Arsenal this January transfer window. Now, Arsenal have luckily escaped being charged for the breach of financial fair play rules. We are okay for now, right? We are okay for now. And that means that Mikel Arteta and Edu can now work on outgoings as a way to prepare for incomings, right? I mean, Everton and Nottingham Forest might be a little bit unlucky that the likes of the big powerhouses like Chelsea, big powerhouses like Arsenal are not being charged for overspending and all this. But also, it depends on how much we are making, how much Arsenal are making, and how much Everton and Nottingham Forest are making as well. But this also means that Arsenal have to be very careful. If we're going to sell, we have to sell for substantial amounts, like not really substantial 100, 190, but for decent amounts. If we brought in Aaron Ramsdale for around 30 million, we should be looking at in excess of 45 million. Make some profits on these players, and everything is going to be absolutely fine. Remember, we've made a lot of losses when it comes to buying and selling players. Likes of Lacazette, Aubameyang, Ozil, those were all recorded. I don't know if they were recorded as losses, but when you look into it, those are players Arsenal could have made. If Ozil was offloaded at the right time, Arsenal could have made some money. If Lacazette was offloaded at the right time, Arsenal could have made some money. I mean, just look at the Granit Xhaka situation. That is what Arsenal should have done on all of these players. Offload them at the right amount of time. Stand your ground. If a player is 20 million and you're pricing them at 20 million, can you actually do that? So Arsenal now have to focus on outgoings, and that is where we are. Cedric is going to be leaving. You can catch me on the Cossy Arsenal channel as we talk about the 3 outgoings Arsenal are working on. But then you can also catch me on the Cossy Arsenal channel as we discuss what is going to happen in January. What is going to be the next move for Arsenal? Is Mikel Arteta expected to kind of rebel because there are no signings? I don't expect him to do that. Yes, he said his club is short. He said that at the moment, the club needs some signings, but I do not really think it's because he doesn't know the FFP situation. It's because he understands, right? He understands that for us to compete, we have to buy in some players. We have to bring in, some top quality, right? So no signings in January. I can confirm that for now. I can say no signings in January for Arsenal. I can also certainly say there will be no striker signings coming in for Arsenal in January. Okay, let's see what you're saying in the comment box below. Dixon says, then we don't qualify for trophies this season, but we can be a part of the league like other teams. I think that is the strategy that Arsenal have always been on. It's the fans that have been on the other trajectory. Because when Mikel Arteta talks about, he knew that we were never good enough to actually go again and score the same number of goals. And then we didn't sign a striker. It means that they gave up on our ability to compete with Man City. They gave up on our ability to compete with Liverpool. If you know and you can actually see it prior, if you can be, very, very prudent, right? And then you're like, we cannot score this number of goals again. We can't go 88 because at this rate, Arsenal are on course to score around 65 goals. And I tell you, 65 goals, that really doesn't do anything. 65 goals is going to be, I don't know, half of what Liverpool are going to score, probably, right? Liverpool are still in every single competition, and they look better than Arsenal. Man City are still, I think they're out of the Carabao Cup. Are they out of the Carabao Cup? But they still look better than Arsenal, despite the fact that they are in many competitions and they're actually tipped to win them. So we have scored 37 goals out of 20. If we score another 37, Arsenal will have scored around 74 goals this season. If you double what Liverpool have scored, they will have 86 goals. If you double what Manchester City have scored right now, they'll have a total of 94 goals. So if we score 70, right? If we score 70 and Liverpool score 80, 86, and Man City score 94, who is going to win the league? And are we really going to compete with these lads? The truth is no, right? The truth is no. So you're right. You're absolutely spot on there. Dixon, don't think we are actually going to be, I don't think we are really going to be getting closer to these guys. Cab says, not the kind of news Arsenal fans would love to hear at the moment. Trust me, not the kind of news we would love to hear. I was absolutely crazy when Tottenham lost points to Manchester United because I was so happy. I knew when your opponents are losing and you're working to better yourself as a club and you're working to make sure that your squad is better, then there is a lot of chances. You have a lot of chances to go and compete with them. But our opponents are actually doing better. They're strengthening in areas. Because look at Spurs. They brought in Dragusin, who I think is a decent signing and a top quality signing for Spurs. At their level, that's a top quality signing. And they brought in Timo Werner, who I thought was actually decent against Manchester United in his debut game. I thought they did miss Son because Son is more clinical than Timo Werner. But in terms of running and offering options and opening up spaces and running the channels and working the channels as well, I thought Timo Werner was absolutely decent. And I tell you, Arsenal, we might not need Timo Werner, but we need a winger. And Spurs have just got and boom, they've done a winger. And boom, they've done a defender. And even if Mikel Arteta says we need a defender, Spurs have done a defender. Spurs have done a winger. And no, listen, no one talks to me about, well, Arsenal don't have the money or everything or that or this and that. How have Spurs done it? Right? How have Spurs done it? They've done it early in the window, and that has allowed them to go to the Old Trafford and pick up a point in a game where they dominated and could have picked up 3 points. They would and 1 point, um, 7 points next to them. And I don't think it gets better.